These are the new Thomas & Venn's Adventures Metal Engines by Fisher Price. These are for the YouTube Kids program. If you go on YouTube Kids, you can look up Thomas & Friends Adventures and you find them. This is Rosie. My brother collects these, so I figured when I'm done, he's been doing it since he was a little boy. He's now 33, I believe. No, he's 30. He'll be 35 this year because I'll be 40. So he's been collecting these for quite a while. And believe me, he still knows his old stories backwards and forwards. He has all the old tapes with Ringo Starr as the conductor, or George Carlin. They both did it. Alex Baldwin's done it too, on a couple of them, but yes, Ringo Starr started it. George Carlin, I think, was better. He had the less dry attitude about it, but you know. So here is Luke. So I don't watch it very much. My brother, even when he was a kid, he had the stories so memorized that when somebody asked him how it was going, he would tell you one of the engine stories that was really bad. So he had all the books, he had everything. And he passed that knowledge down to one of my little cousins who was into it too, and the two of them had a blast together. So just think what you could do. This is something good to play with your kids. These are lightweight, even though they're die cast. They're not that heavy. I have a lot of die cast cars and die cast other things, but these aren't too heavy. You can feel they're die cast, but they're solid. They do roll, so you can play. They have the clips so you can get other pieces, such as like the coaches and the little cars with the coal in them, coal cars and trucks. I guess they call them trucks. This is from Britain. They're different. And you can get the little people too. They have the engineers. They have the people from what do you call it? The fire guy? What's it? The fireman. You know, there's all kinds of different characters you can get through Topham Hat. They used to make the figures. I don't know if they still do. They might be in wooden form, but I know they make them. There's a whole section that used to be in Target and Walmart. I don't know if they're still that way or not. I saw these at Ollie's in the toy area. There were 5 hours of toys. I saw these, and I know he doesn't have these two. So I said, well, I might as well grab them. They say they're $4.99 normally. I've seen engines up to $8 to $10, depending on the quality. They do make wooden ones as well. They're not as good as the metal. Like my brother collects the die cast. And, you know, you connect these together, too, and make like a long train. But there's a few train shops around that still carry them. My great-grandfather worked on the railroad for Pennsylvania, so that, and I have a great-great-grandfather. He worked on the railroads here in New York. When he came here from Italy, he got a job, and they said he was so strong he could carry a tire iron on both shoulders. And tire irons, if you don't know, are the tracks that go along the sides. He used to be able to carry those with no help at all. So, come a long line of trained people. I'm not big on trains because I end up throwing up every time I'm on a train because of the motion. But my brother loves it, so I figured this would be something he could take and put on his shelf with the others and continue his collection. You know, just like I did with Hot Wheels, action figures, dolls, other things you've seen on here, because I don't care how old I get. Okay, I don't care if I'm a little old lady buying action figures. I will still keep my collection going because that's what I love. It makes me happy. So, do what makes you happy. This is also a great thing to do with your children, because you could play with them. Come up with a story that sparks both your imaginations. A kid's imagination can be a wonderful thing, especially if he or she is very young, very shy person like I was growing up, where I didn't get along with other kids, didn't want to be around other kids. My imagination went wild as a kid. I could have one little piece of toy, one toy, and come up with a whole scenario around it. Whether it was a doll, a Hot Wheel car, you know, a Funko, I didn't have Funko Pops as a kid, an action figure, you know. I could come up with all kinds of things. My brother and I used to make toys out of all kinds of things. You know, he had a lid for his toy box, and we used to take fruit roll-ups back when they had the ones you could make like a pizza out of it. It was like had the pizza pieces in it. You could make a pizza. It's not flavored pizza. It was like fruity flavored, but it looked like a pizza. We used to put those on there and pretend we were making pizza. We used to take all kinds of stuff, play with it that wasn't meant to work together, and come up with a whole idea. So this is something I'm real passionate. I was using the imagination with me, like with my when I had my surgery. Books helped. So if you're having something traumatic to you, a book is a great thing. A toy is a great thing because it takes you out of your element of where you are at the moment and pushes you through. Like when I had my foot surgery, the pain was so bad that graphic novels helped. Comic books helped. I was no longer laying in the hospital bed with my leg up, covering. I was swinging through the streets with Batman and Robin on ropes, taking down the Joker, or flying through the sky with Superman, taking Lex Luthor out of commission, foiling his latest scheme. And others. I was running with the team. I was playing with the Teen Titans. I was working alongside the Justice League, alongside Constantine, doing his spells. That's just the way it was, and it helped me out a lot. So imagination can be a powerful thing if you know how to use your mind the right way, and channel all your feelings into your imagination. Write fan fiction. Write books. I wrote a lot of fan fiction books growing up. Never got them published, but you can do that or do what my brother did. Put your passion for baseball into a book and have not a high-selling book, but he sold a lot of copies to my grandfather especially. But people loved it. They were reading it. They were raving about it. The Hall of Fame knows about it. I would definitely check out any book that you're passionate about or something you're very passionate about, like even food or your family history especially, and write a book detailing how they came here. What they did when they got here, how everything went together to piece to yourself. So you see how you fit into your picture. How does your parents fit in? How do your parents' parents fit in? How they meet, to get to be where they are. That's something I really feel everybody should do. Especially teach your kids about their family history. Hand it down to the generations. My grandmother's family didn't talk about it. Okay, my dad's mother. We didn't know much about that side of the family until I started digging into it. I had to go in myself. And I only had one family member on her side of the family that was willing to help me. And she gave me all kinds of information. Paperwork, birth certificates, baptismal records, all kinds of stuff. And my grandmother actually held on to things that I didn't even know she had. So when I actually went and started working I went to my aunt's house to pick up the stuff she had left for me. It was totes full of stuff, old photo albums, scrapbooks she put together years ago when she was a teenager. All old family photos. It was like finding a gold mine. So I would really suggest you do your family history. Get a DNA test done to find out where you came from, where your family was from, how you started. You might find out cool things like maybe a relative helped build the Transcontinental Railroad that put the country together. Maybe he or she was in the Civil War, which I had three relatives in the Civil War on my dad's side alone that I knew about. I got all kinds of paperwork from my grandfather's sister. She gave me all this stuff that a family member had sent her. And I got in touch with him, a cousin I never even knew I had. And we got to talking. And we worked together. Also, if you have family members in the military who's either passed away or getting to be where they're really elderly, talk to them about their service. Learn about it. But like a public service thing here, but I didn't know anything about my grandfather's service in the Navy until I was older. And I started looking back at pictures, and that hat he's wearing that he always wore. It's got a ship's name on it. So I started Googling the ship, finding out he served in the Korean War. His brother did too in the Army. So I learned a lot of that. I found out that the local theater in my area, Proctor's, was actually vaudeville at one time that my great-grandfather, my grandfather's dad, and my grandfather's mother worked at. My great-grandfather was a stagehand and an actor. I never knew. Finding out history about him, I didn't meet him. He died 6 years before I was born of leukemia. So I never got to know him. And the story my grandfather wrote called Life of a Stagehand really brought back a lot of things. Made me learn about things about my great-grandfather that I never knew. I learned a lot, and I'm really happy I did. When I showed you in the family history, I started with you start with what you know. You, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, if you know them, your aunts and uncles. And on Ancestry, they get little leaves, which are hints. You click on them, and they'll say, oh, potential match found. We think we found the father or the mother, or the next step up. And you follow the trail till it leads you to a brick wall, which I've had a lot of them. They call them brick walls because your momentum stops. You've learned all this stuff, and all of a sudden, your information is done. There's no more information, and you stop cold. The next thing you do is you go to the next person to do the same. So I learned how to do a lot of work on that, where there was a lot of brick walls, and you learn to move from it. So when they stop you dead in your tracks, you move on. And a lot of people, like, I found out really cool things. Sometimes you find out really bad things. They're connected to the Italian mafia that was here. You know, I had a feeling by the way some of my relatives dressed, by the way their attitudes were, how they walked, how they scared the living crap out of everybody that was near them, that they were a member of the mafia. And finding out we had two of them, one that was a mafia leader in 2 cities in the family. So definitely check that out, because family history is an important part of your life, whether you think so or not. Because, you know, when you get to a certain age in school, they ask for your family tree. And I had to ask my mom at the time because I was in elementary school. I didn't know much. I knew my mom, my parents, me, my grandparents and great-grandparents, and aunts and uncles and cousins. That's all I really knew, this little bit. And then my mom helped me stretch it out. And I learned a lot. You know, you learn to appreciate your family and where you come from. You know, are you going to find friends with similar backgrounds, and you join up on, you come together under thinking that, oh, wait a minute, your family came from Italy? My family came from Italy. What part? And you start talking about the different parts, or trying to learn a language, because my family, mom's family started in Wales before they came here a long, long time ago. So I'm starting to learn Welsh because of them. I learned Italian because my grandmother's family came from Italy. You know, I tried to learn French because some of my grandfather's relatives came from France. Didn't work well. Italian worked well. Welsh is doing really well. French, not so much. So I know I'm ranting and raving, but definitely help your kids with a family history. Teach them something, especially the elderly people in your lives. Talk to them. Sometimes they just enjoy reminiscing about a time from their childhood themselves. Or they remember a great time in their lives that really inspired them. Or when their child was born, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. You know, you learn a lot. Like I learned. I'm a 5th-generation Italian American. And I thought it was so cool. And to see documents written in the native language of my family from Italy was amazing. To see these documents and go, I can read this, was another amazing thing. Or you're on Facebook, the one like I was. I got friended by a cousin in Italy. I don't know how he found me, but he did. We got in the same group for something. I don't remember what it was, comic books or currency or something we were working on, and he saw it, and he went right for me. And we got to talking, and I said, can't be a coincidence. You know, I said, what was your great-grandmother's name? And he answered the question, and that's how we found out. So we connected over that. So it's a great way to learn. So check that out. Great way to travel too, because you can travel back to where your family started and check out records back then. You might find stuff that you never knew that's exciting. You know, check that out.